What's up, guys? It is Coasters and Things here today, and welcome to the very last episode of The Thrill Life. It's been a heck of a ride, hasn't it, Nick?
Yeah, it's been a great time, man. If you watched our last episode or saw my recent post on Instagram, you'll know that this is the end of our run as a podcast. It was great. I really enjoyed doing it. You know, our schedules just are not aligning anymore. We're both becoming very busy. Me myself, anyway. I really can't swing it anymore, and I'm going to keep it 100 with you guys. They're very time consuming to edit. Not that I didn't enjoy editing them. I do video editing for a living, so I like video editing, but yeah, I really can't swing it anymore. It's nothing personal. It's just I just don't have the time to do it anymore. But it was great. So in this episode, we're not sure how long this episode is going to be. This could be a much shorter episode. We're kind of just going to look back on some of our favorite moments throughout all three series of The Thrill Life. So Jason, let's start from the very beginning. Our first episode was October, I want to say, of 2022, right?
No, it was September of 2022.
Was it September?
Yeah, our first episode, we talked about Catapult Falls and Pipeline the Surf Coaster and all the SeaWorld announcements that
Catapult Falls still not even open.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty funny hearing that back now. Pipeline is open though.
Yeah, it is. So that was episode 1. Episode 2, I'm trying to look back on. I got the playlist right here.
Yeah, I like how you did that. That was cool that you formatted it that way. So yeah, our first couple of episodes were just me and Jason, but you know, later on throughout we started to bring guests on, which looking back, that was my favorite part of the podcast was anytime we'd have a guest on because it was cool to hear someone else's opinions, whether it was talking about all the new stuff in the industry or if we were to do like a list, like a top 5 underrated coasters, flat rides, dark rides, you name it.
Episode 1, we didn't even have an intro because episode 1 was kind of like the test episode in a way.
Or I feel like we did have an intro, but we ended up cutting it out because we didn't like how it turned out.
No, I remember now. We did have an intro. We ended up cutting it out because it got copyrighted.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Maybe I had to change the song or something.
Yeah, because the first intro that we used in episode 1, I got a copyright claim on it.
Yeah, so random. I always try to use non-copyrighted music too for any of the intros, outros. I don't know. That could have been a mistake on my end, but yeah, you're right. It didn't have an intro. So then the second episode we talked about, was it Dragster?
Yeah, Top Thrill Dragster's future. It was the Florida parks had just reopened after Hurricane Ian. And Wildcat at Hershey Park was already being speculated to have been RMC'd at that point.
Okay, so this is like the early when the wooden box with the RMC logo was on site. Yeah.
Episode 3, we talked about the Fast and Furious roller coaster coming to Universal Studios Hollywood.
That's going to be a great ride.
We also talked about Moana Journey of Water, which had been announced.
Looks like a very cool attraction, by the way, at Epcot.
And the Orlando Freefall was officially announced to be getting torn down then.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember that. I feel like that... Well, no, I'm not even going to say that. There's been a couple episodes where, unfortunately, we had to touch on some of the incidents around the industry.
Yeah, those haven't been fun.
The most major one was the free fall accident, but yeah, you hate to see it, man.
Episode 4, we talked about... episode 4, we talked about Pipeline because it had just been announced. It was announced later after the other SeaWorld editions.
Oh, okay. I thought you said we talked about it in the first episode.
I was wrong on that. Sorry.
Oh, no worries.
But no, I think we talked about Dark Coaster actually in the first episode.
We could have again, man. It
But
feels like so long ago.
I know. We also talked about Serengeti Flyer, which had just been announced for Busch Gardens, Tampa.
Everyone speaks so highly of that ride too.
Yeah. Phantasmic had just returned at Universal. Disney's Hollywood Studios. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Phantasmic had just returned. And Carowinds and King's Dominion, those two parks, had just announced that they were going year round, which lasted for only 1 year. I knew it was going to be a flop.
Yeah. Well, now that there'll be Six Flags parks, maybe that'll change.
That was episode 4. Episode 5, just having to just go through them. The B&M wing coaster that was coming to Legoland Deutschland in Germany, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And then was
episode 6, we had
with Andreas.
Yeah, we had our first guest, Andreas from Thrills and Magic, I think his name is.
Yep, Thrills and Magic, good friend of the pod.
Yeah, we talked about.
We had that of all the episodes. Looking back, that was the one where we had the worst audio problems. We did our best throughout this entire run. I'd like to say overall, I'm happy with the quality of all the podcasts, but yeah, for whatever reason, that episode, the audio, there really not much I could do about it. I tried my best to edit the audio, but
yeah,
it just came out bad.
Episode 6, we talked about Wildcats Revenge, which had recently been announced, as well as Efteling's 2024 attraction and the new entertainment complex that had been proposed for Missouri.
That's still happening, right?
I think it is. Yeah, I think so.
And then 7, was that with Sean?
Yeah, that was with Sean. Air Force One had just been completed at that point.
Yeah, Dr. Coaster. We were fortunate enough to have him on the podcast twice. Yeah. He didn't bring any donuts though, which I was kind of disappointed about. You would think that he would, bring donuts to the show for everyone.
He had a donut from Chattanooga once.
Did he?
Yeah.
He gets around, man.
I know. Air Force One had just been completed. Wildcats Revenge was starting to take shape, and Grizzly at King's Dominion had just been announced that it was getting the pre-cut track.
Yeah, and everyone says Grizzly is like 10 times better than it used to be now.
It is. It's so good.
I gotta get back to King's Dominion. Oh, you went to King's Dominion this past year, right?
So that was episode 7. Episode 8 was IAPA last year.
Yeah. I'd like to say our IAPA episode that we just did recently was better than the first one.
I agree. Yeah.
Which is a good thing. That means we only got better.
Mm-hmm. So that episode 8 was IAPA last year. I don't need to say anything more on that. Episode 9. Episode 9, we talked about Bob Iger coming back to Disney instead of Bob Chapek. And Primordial at Lagoon had finally been completed then.
Yeah, that ride took long enough, but wow, it looks really cool.
Episode 10, this was the one where we had Chris from Airtime Thrills on, as well as Hawk OG.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite episodes. That was awesome having Chris on and Nate. I mean, what did we have Nate on? Twice, 3 times? I think twice.
Yeah. We talked about Wild Mouse that was complete at Cedar Point, Dream World's expansion, and yeah, there was something else. I can't remember what it was though.
I feel like we talked about Mattel Adventure Park.
I think we did actually. Yeah.
I feel like we did. I feel like yeah. Because Chris was talking about how the Twin Mill Racer was like modern day Steam
Demon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Episode 11, that was one where we had Park Hoppers Radio on with us.
Shout out to both of those guys. They're putting out great YouTube content now, so be sure to go check out their new videos.
I know, and I think they just came out with a new channel, I think.
Yeah, Park Hoppers Productions. They did a video, I think it was Austin did a video talking about the history of Geauga Lake, which was super cool. So shout out to those guys. Awesome that they're still able to do their podcast because I'll be honest, I wish we could continue doing this, but and I don't want to say that it'll never come back. Never say never. But for the time being, this is going to be the farewell episode. But
and that was our year-end review for last year. Episode 12, that was the last episode of series 1. That was the one that I was not in because I was in Italy at the
That was
time.
with Tyler Burke and Ethan from
Ethan.
Boiler Coasters.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about the Christmas events at our home park. So I talked
Yeah.
about Holiday in the Park, and he talked all about Canada's Wonderland Winterfest, and I think Kings Island Winterfest was thrown in there as well.
Yeah, so that was the end of series 1, which ended in um December of last year. And then series 2, we
That came
start
back around in what, March?
February,
So we really only took like a month off then.
a month and a half.
Okay.
But episode 13, we talked about our top 5 most anticipated roller coasters that would be riding this year. We also talked about
I think that was just like catching everybody up
oh we talked
on
oh we talked
all the
about
news
Splash Mountain, which was closing, and Mindbender, which was closing.
at Galaxyland. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think overall, I think Series 2 of the 3 was my favorite. I don't know.
I
Series 3
think,
has been great too. I mean, Series 1 was definitely the worst.
well, obviously.
Mainly the like first 4 episodes, and then from there we got like notably better.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know.
Series episode 14.
I think
We
that was actually, is that the one where we talked about Dorney's dive coaster before
Yeah,
it was Iron Menace?
before it was announced, yeah, we talked about the dive coaster. We talked about Tron that was opening then, and we talked about Tutatis that had just started
I think that
testing.
was my favorite episode of that we did solo anyway.
Episode 15. We talked about Area Force One, which had just been announced to open finally, as
I
well
feel
as
like that was the episode we announced our trip as well.
probably, as well as Mandrill Mayhem at Chessington, which had just opened, as well as a new Zack Spin and the Byron Curve coming to Knoebels next year.
Yeah, I got to look up close and personal with the Byron Curve this past summer. I mean, I would think it's going to be open for 2024.
Should be,
It's
yeah.
fully assembled. Yeah, they just got to test, and I there's not really much else they need to do over there. But
Episode,
it's in a weird spot in the park, but it's going to be a cool ride for them. It's a classic ride, so it fits right in.
yeah, episode 16. That was talking about my Universal trip, and that was the episode the first time we played the Coaster Alphabet game.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
On the podcast, anyway, we've done it a couple times in line for rides at parks, but
Yeah, so that was episode 16. Episode 17, Six Flags New Orleans had just announced that it was having big plans for it, as well as Aeronautical Landing at Carowinds, and Icebreaker had just gotten its comfort collars removed at SeaWorld Orlando.
great change.
Yeah,
Dude,
definitely.
it is crazy. Like everyone says, it's like night and day now. There's like people that didn't used to like Icebreaker have it in like their top 3 at the park now.
Episode 18 was Disney announcing that they were investing $17 billion into Disney World, as well as Worlds of Fun removing 5 rides and Rip Curl Blaster at Six Flags America, which I'm not even sure if that's still happening.
Yeah, the water coaster, right?
Yeah.
I know it didn't open this past year, so who knows? I don't know. It's
Mhm.
what's that a pro slide water coaster?
Yeah. Episode 19, we had just taken our Georgia trip by then. So episode 19 was me and you and Nate and Sean talking about it.
Yeah, that was a good episode.
That was where we talked about Six Flags Over Georgia and Fun Spot Atlanta and the Varsity and the hotel that we stayed at.
Yeah. Looking back, yeah, that was probably my
That was a
favorite
good
trip of the
episode.
year.
That was a good episode.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite trip of the year, to be honest. Florida, I had a great time, but I think Georgia topped it.
Episode 20 was your Florida trip, talking about your Florida trip.
Okay.
Episode
Yeah,
20.
because we got home from Georgia, and then I left for Florida like 2 days later.
Episode 21 was Big Bear Mountain had just opened at Dollywood. Poseidon's Fury had just closed at Universal.
Mhm.
And Gotham City Escape had just opened at Parque Warner Madrid.
Okay. I still think Tutatis looks better than
Oh,
Gotham City Escape. That might be an unpopular opinion, but I still am on that side.
oh yeah, and Dixie Landon was announced that it was going to be closed then.
Mm-hmm.
That was episode 21. 22 was our top 10 bucket list coasters with Andreas again. Episode 23, we talked about the opening of Wildcat's Revenge, the update on Topfield Dragster, and our favorite water rides. That was with Ethan and Jameer.
Yeah, from Park Visions. Yep.
Yeah, that was the last episode in series 2. And then series 3, series 3, episode 24 was, I
This
think,
was my favorite episode. Episode 24, the one where we talked about basically
what we did
our
all summer.
yeah, basically what we did all summer. Of all the episodes that we did with just each other, that was my favorite episode, I think.
That
I'm
that
really happy with how that one turned out.
Yeah. Episode 25, we talked about the Golden Ticket Awards. That was with Jack from Coaster John.
Yeah, that was
Mhm.
a great episode as well.
That was the longest episode, I'm pretty sure, out of all of them.
Yeah, we touched on a lot. Golden Ticket Awards, Bobcat, Flash Vertical Velocity. We went down the list.
Episode 26 was with CJ. We talked about our underrated coasters.
Yeah, yep. Now we're getting to like the recent ones. So I remember all these ones very well.
Yeah, episode 27 was talking about Penguin Trek and Phoenix Rising and Loch Ness Monsters refurbishment. Yeah, episode 28 was talking about American Heartland, which had just been upcoming. It's had its groundbreaking, as well as my Missouri and Arkansas trip, and the new Roller Coaster Tycoon game that had just been announced.
Mm-hmm.
That was episode 28. Episode 29 was our top 5 favorite flat rides and the Six Flags and Cedar Fair merger. That was the one with Christian coasting the planet.
The Cedar Fair merger. Six Flags and Cedar Fair merger. I comment below if you guys think that even will go through. I fear it will, but there's also a part of me that feels like it may fall through.
Uh-huh. Episode 30 was talking about IAPA this year.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 31 was talking with your uncle and his friend.
Yeah, that was very, very, very cool.
Bill Campbell and Bill Galvin were their names, right?
Yep.
That was episode 31. Episode 32, the penultimate episode, we were talking about our top 5 favorite dark rides and the newly announced Universal Kids Resort.
Yep. And then
this
here
final episode, episode 33, we're just taking a look back at everything.
Yep. So looking back, I think my favorite episode that we did was probably episode 24 when we talked about everything we did over the summer.
Yeah, I think
favorite,
so too. Yeah.
I mean, all of our guests were great, but I think my favorite episode with all the guests was probably I'm not even gonna lie. I really liked the one we just did with my uncle and his friend. That was very, very cool.
I really liked the one where we were with Sean and Nate talking about the Georgia trip. I really liked that one.
That was good too. Yeah. Any other notable moments you want to throw in there, Jason, looking back before we wrap up?
One thing I remember is you calling Arctic Rescue Arctic Adventure several times.
Many times, yeah. Yeah, I did that a lot. I don't know why.
Oh, and I remember we were talking about the best states for roller coasters. We were talking about like California and Florida and Ohio, and you were like, yeah, and Delaware as well.
Shout out Delaware, man. No, it was good times. Good times for sure. But no, that's basically all I have. I really had a great time doing this.
It really was.
Wish it could continue, but unfortunately it can't. So again, if you didn't see the last episode, I basically just reviewed everything and said how much I appreciate everybody for tuning in.
Yeah. And real quick, you're a real one if you managed to watch or listen to all 33 episodes.
33 was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can name about like 5 people that I think probably tuned in to all of them. You know who you are.
Yeah.
But anyway, for the last time, Jason, sign us out, man.
Real quick, this is not the last time that you will be seeing the two of us work together. We will still be actively involved with each other's accounts. But anyway, this is it as far as the Thrill Life goes. So, for the very last time, this is Coasters and Things and
Beyond the Thrills,
signing out. Thank you all so much for watching.